Hello, everyone. Today we focus on an incredibly interesting and mysterious theory that breaks our understanding of the world around us. Previously, I had the idea to create a video in which I would compare the things that believers believe in and those that scientists believe in and prove. I wanted to show that modern science offers us such extraordinary theories of how our world works, next to which any religious fantasies fade. But such a video would be very long, so I will break it down into parts. Today about one of such amazing theories. Let's begin. On the 19th of July, 1982, at the age of 51, in his home in McLean, Virginia, USA, a man died. The cause of death was a heart attack. The man did not lead a healthy life. He drank a lot of alcohol, smoked tobacco, and didn't really care about it, as he knew for sure that he was immortal. So what, you might say? Just an ordinary oddball, and you would be wrong. This man was Hugh Everett, one of the most famous physicists of the 20th century. His many worlds interpretation theory, thanks to which he considered himself immortal, is supported by many contemporary physicists, including Stephen Hawking and Andrei Linde. In his book, A Brief History of Time, Hawking discusses the many worlds interpretation as one of the ways to interpret quantum mechanics, pointing out its beauty and elegance, but also noting that it is hard to experimentally verify. Andrei Linde pointed out that Everett's theory is one of the most radical and exciting interpretations of quantum mechanics. So who was Hugh Everett? Hugh Everett III was born on the 11th of November 1930 in Washington, D.C., in a family of a government lawyer. He showed his intellectual abilities early on, particularly when he wrote a letter to Albert Einstein as a child asking about scientific paradoxes, to which Einstein even responded, finding young Hugh's questions interesting. This confirmed Everett's scientific potential. After graduating from the Catholic University of America with a degree in chemical engineering, Everett decided to switch to physics and entered Princeton University. There he developed his famous many worlds theory as part of his doctoral dissertation. His wife, Nancy, played a key role in his career, helping to print his papers and dissertation, which kick-started his scientific research. Despite the innovativeness of his theory, Everett encountered academic difficulties and skepticism in scientific circles, prompting him to leave academia and move to work at the Pentagon. There he was involved in applying mathematical methods to assess the probability of nuclear war during the Cold War. Most of his work during this period remains classified. Later in life, Everett became the founder of several companies specializing in the application of his mathematical knowledge in the military and defense sectors. His private companies worked on a wide range of projects, from defense analysis to data processing systems. Everett died on the 19th of July, 1982 from a heart attack, which was partly caused by his unhealthy lifestyle, including smoking and drinking alcohol. His death was a great loss to the scientific world, but his ideas continue to influence the development of quantum physics and the philosophy of science. But what is his famous theory about? To explain this, let's use an analogy. In the world of small particles, from the size of an electron to some molecules, completely amazing and non-obvious laws prevail. They are so amazing and non-obvious that even Einstein could not believe in their existence at the time. To explain how this happens in the micro world, I will use an analogy with our world, as if these laws began to operate in it as well. Once you wanted to throw a ball into the basketball hoop in your backyard. I don't know about you, but I'm a poor thrower. I would often hit not the hoop, but the board, or even the wall on which the board hangs. I think you play basketball better than I do, and you enjoyed spending some time throwing the ball into the basket. Now imagine that someone turned on the law of the micro world in your backyard. Now when you or I throw the ball with our eyes closed, it flies just as before. You see no difference. But when you close your eyes and throw the ball, the magic begins. The ball hits places it simply could not have hit before. For example, into the wall behind the board, into the neighbor's window, or at my cat, who nothing in the world could hit. Analyzing the behavior of the ball when no one is looking, one can conclude that in flight, the ball existed simultaneously in all possible directions. I know it's incredible, but everything indicates that until you looked at the ball, it was not a ball. It was energy, a radio wave, and flew in all directions at once. And not just flew, but also interacted with itself, like radio waves. In the end, all those waves disappeared somewhere, and the ball appeared somewhere and hit the wall or something else. Then you, opening your eyes in surprise, realized that the ball sometimes flew into places where it physically could not have reached, being solid and material. For example, behind the board, or in the window of a distant neighbor, or on the tail of my cat. It could have reached there only by bouncing off something that really isn't in your backyard. There's only one possibility left. The ball, being in a state of multi-position, could only bounce off and interact with itself. But the ball appeared in unexpected places only after you opened your eyes, hearing the impact of the ball against something. And what would happen if during the flight of the ball you opened your eyes? You would see an ordinary single ball, which calmly flies through the air. The ball would materialize the moment you looked at it, and it would fly on as usual. It is your attention, or more precisely the measurement effect, that caused the ball to materialize. Let me say right away, this is not specifically related to human attention. No mysticism needed. Only the effect of interaction or measurement makes a particle material, because measurement is essentially interaction. This is one of the amazing mysteries of the quantum world, and it is called quantum superposition. Also, superposition can relate to other phenomena, such as the decay of atoms. This phenomenon is perfectly studied, proven, and used, so it's too late to be surprised and say that it might be a mistake. But physicists still do not know exactly how this process occurs, the transformation of that ephemeral nothing, energy, probability into a material particle. And at the moment, the most elegant explanation of this process is exactly Everett's many worlds interpretation. But it did not become so immediately. But here's how the evolution of views went. Let's go back a bit in time to understand how it all started. Our story begins with Max Planck, who introduced the concept of energy quanta. Planck suggested that energy is not continuous, but consists of discrete portions, or quanta. He compared this to a counter, which instead of counting smoothly, does so step by step. This idea became the basis for further revolutions in physics. Later, Albert Einstein expanded Planck's idea, suggesting that light can also be considered as a stream of quanta, photons, which behave simultaneously as waves and as particles. This concept, known as wave-particle duality, allowed a deeper understanding of phenomena such as the photoelectric effect. Niels Bohr took these ideas further, advancing the Copenhagen interpretation. He claimed that until we observe a quantum particle, it exists in all possible states simultaneously. This is exactly what we tried to reproduce in our ball experiment. That is, an electron can be both a wave and a particle at the same time, but as soon as we observe it, it chooses one state. Einstein disagreed with this interpretation. He argued that nature could not be so detached from reality and became famous for the phrase, "God does not play dice." In response to this, Erwin Schrödinger proposed the famous thought experiment about Schrödinger's cat. At this point in writing the script, my cat climbed onto my desk and sternly looked me in the eyes. Then I realized that I had to tell in detail about this cruel mental experiment. Obviously, Schrödinger didn't have a cat, so no one forbade him to come up with such a cruel, though theoretical, experiment. He described a theoretical situation where a cat is locked in a box along with a device that releases poison when an atom of a radioactive substance, which is also in the box, decays. Dear radioactive atom also is subject to quantum laws. Therefore, according to quantum mechanics, the atom exists in a superposition of two states, decayed and not decayed. This state persists until we open the box and look at it, just like our balls, which flew in all directions at once while our eyes were closed. When we open the box, we see whether the cat is alive or not. But until then, since the cat is theoretically linked to the atom and together with it exists in superposition, in both states at once, both alive and dead. The theory is interesting, though not cat positive, but in the 50s of the 20th century, Dr. Hugh Everett expressed a new thought in contrast to Schrödinger. He proposed that all possible events occur simultaneously, each in its own parallel universe. This was radical and seemed fantastical at the time, but it was this many worlds interpretation that helped solve many paradoxes of quantum mechanics, indicating that in each universe, a separate reality is possible, inaccessible to others. For example, our balls. When you threw the ball with your eyes closed, the ball became a multitude of flight options, an ephemeral wave. But when you opened your eyes, all these options became separate universes, in which the ball appeared each in its place. And then those universes continued to develop independently, of course again dividing when the state of each of their quantum particles changes. Such a theory is somewhat similar to a computer model, so recently there have been thoughts that we actually live in some unfathomable cosmic simulation. But we digressed. Everett's theory initially did not appeal to many physicists. In March and April 1959, Everett visited Copenhagen at the request of his academic advisor John Wheeler to meet with Niels Bohr, the father of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. The visit was a complete disaster. Bohr rejected Everett's approach entirely, defending the Copenhagen approach to measurement. The conceptual gap between their positions was too great to allow any meeting of minds. Leon Rosenfeld, one of Bohr's supporters, called Everett unimaginably stupid and said that he could not understand the simplest things in quantum mechanics. Later, Everett described this experience as hell, doomed from the start. But time passed, and scientists recognized Everett's theory as more elegant and plausible than others. Let's move on. In Everett's theory, any event that changes the superposition of a quantum particle creates new universes that function independently. But our behavior, actions, or decisions, the result of many quantum changes in the superposition of elementary particles, can also be seen as those that create new universes. And then my cat came up to me and in cat Esperanto asked to pass on the following message to the viewers. Those of the viewers who right now like or dislike this video, and if possible subscribe to the channel, will live in a conceptually different world than those who do not. This I pass on to you. Who am I to argue with a cat who speaks Esperanto? Here we approach the next exciting and philosophical concept that arises from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, quantum immortality. This idea is part of broader philosophical reflections that stem from quantum mechanics, and in particular, from Hugh Everett's theory. Let's start with an analogy that will help better understand this concept. According to Everett, There is a vast number of parallel universes where each of your choices, each random event leads to a division into new universes. In some of these universes, we may die as a result of accidents or diseases, but in others, we continue to live. Quantum immortality asserts that our conscious self will always feel alive in those universes where we survived, regardless of how many other selves died in other universes. We do not remember our deaths in other universes, although we see many deaths of other people. We simply parted ways with them in universes. There are universes where they saw our death. Nevertheless, we are alive and continue to watch this video. To better understand this theory, there is a thought experiment called quantum suicide. Something tells me that both in the choice of the experiment's name and in its details, my cat was involved. The essence of the experiment is similar to Schrödinger's experiment. We have a safe room, a shotgun, and an atom of radioactive material that may decay. And here we connect the trigger of the rifle aimed at us to this material and wait. If the atom decays after some time, then it's the end for us. The rifle fires, and if not, we come out alive. And we enter the room. When we enter, we have our consciousness, memory, bank account, and dentist appointment. We sit in front of the shotgun and wait. But the state of the shotgun depends on the atom, and the atom is in superposition. It may decay and not decay. More precisely, according to Everett, in one universe it will decay, and in another it won't. In the universe where the atom decayed, the dentist will not wait for us, but in the universe where we survived, we will keep our consciousness. That is, we will enter the chamber and come out of it alive and unharmed, feeling nothing about the other option. Our consciousness will notice nothing. We will think that we just got lucky. And this gives rise to the idea that nothing can kill us, because in any situation there will be two essentially quantum outcomes, stay alive or not. And there will always be a universe where our consciousness will continue to exist. Nevertheless, I would not recommend conducting similar experiments on yourself. Let them remain in the theoretical field. The concept of quantum immortality arose after Everett's death, but judging by his behavior and statements, he came to its postulates himself. The tragic story of Hugh Everett's family includes the suicide of his daughter, Elizabeth Everett. She died in 1996, having ingested poison. This case reflects the deep psychological problems she struggled with. Elizabeth battled depression and other mental health issues for many years, and her departure is often seen as part of a broader tragedy that engulfed her family. According to some sources, Elizabeth's suicide may have been partially inspired by her father's philosophy. She, like many others familiar with the multiverse interpretation of quantum mechanics, may have considered the idea of quantum immortality in the context of her own life and death. There are thoughts that she believed she was in one of the unfortunate universes, and that her consciousness would continue to exist in other happier universes. Her suicide was a very tangible reminder that theoretical scientific ideas can have profound and unforeseen impacts on personal life and well-being. Proponents of Everett's theory often point out that this concept has a profound impact not only on scientific research, but also on cultural products, especially in cinema and literature. The multiverse interpretation of quantum mechanics has become the basis for numerous films and books where characters jump between different realities or live parallel lives. This is manifested in such popular films as Doctor Strange, where the main character uses quantum possibilities to fight evil in different dimensions. This theory also fuels the popular science fiction genre with its classic what-if scenarios. It allows authors to experiment with ideas about choice, consequences, and identity, considering hypothetical situations where different choices of characters lead to completely different life trajectories. In literature, for example, Blake Crouch's book Dark Matter tells the story of a physicist who discovers himself in an infinite labyrinth of worlds, each reflecting different life paths he could have taken. In life, quantum immortality could affect the survivorship bias. To remind, survivorship bias is a conceptual error or statistical distortion that occurs when analysis is conducted only on the basis of information about objects or persons who survived a certain selective process, ignoring those who did not survive or achieve success. This can lead to incorrect conclusions and risk assessments, as the sample is not complete or representative. That is, in worlds where there are survivors in extremely critical situations due to quantum immortality, it may seem that those critical situations are not so safe. For example, I definitely know one such situation. For some reason, I think I can calmly finish my coffee when the cat asks me to pour him some food. Deep down, I feel I'm making a fatal mistake. Hugh Everett, although known for his multiverse interpretation of quantum mechanics, unfortunately did not leave behind many quotes or famous statements about his theory compared to other prominent figures in the scientific world, such as Albert Einstein or Richard Feynman. Most of his publications and comments were expressed in the form of scientific papers and lectures, so they may seem a bit technical and specific. However, there are several key ideas and statements that can illustrate his approach and philosophical views. About the existence of parallel universes. According to my theory, each universe branches into numerous other universes at each quantum interaction that has more than one possible outcome. About observation in quantum mechanics. We can never observe unobserved universes. We can only infer their existence and properties through an abstract theoretical model. About his attitude to his theory. My interpretation is not the ultimate truth about the nature of reality, but just one of the possible interpretations that has its advantages and disadvantages. About observation and reality. All elements of the formal theory are equally real, that is, unreal. About the philosophical position of his theory. This makes unnecessary the concept of observation that interferes with defining the state of the system. My global conclusion is an interpretation of quantum mechanics that refuses attempts to describe objective reality and focuses solely on the formal apparatus and measurement results. About the existence of parallel universes. The model contains not one, but many universes that exist in parallel. In each of them, everything happens the same until the moment of quantum interaction. Hugh Everett's many worlds theory, although initially rejected and unaccepted, over time found its place in the world of science, opening doors to new ways of thinking about reality and our role in the universe. Everett's ideas about parallel universes and quantum divisions became key to understanding complex issues of quantum mechanics, influenced the development of science fiction, and inspired philosophical reflections on life, choice, and death. His legacy is a window to the infinite possibilities that may exist simultaneously in multiple realities, reminding us that our decisions and actions matter not only here and now, but also in millions of other universes we can only imagine. Thank you all for watching. Live forever and happily, and may the cat be with you, and he certainly doesn't mind.